this is Meera Khanna. Today we have Ms. Meera Khanna, writer and gender rights activist from India. We will be interviewing her on various issues, including the ongoing South Asian Regional Women Conference that is being held in Nepal and the necessity of addressing the violence against women and girls in South Asian context. Ms. Meera, we are so glad to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me to be on this panel.
So, Ms. Meera, you are here for the South Asian Regional Conference in Nepal. So, what is the outcome of the conference and what do you think that this conference would be helpful to resolve the violence against women and girls in South Asia?
This conference being held in Nepal is a South Asian conference, and we call it Resonating from South Asia to the Globe. This is to address violence against women and girls and the need for a global norm, a legally binding norm to address the issue of violence. Because as you know, violence is a global pandemic. Today we are talking about the COVID pandemic, but violence has been existing for centuries in this world, and very little is being done about it, as the escalated numbers of violence are indicating. So this issue, this conference was to see what is working and what is not working, and if we need a legally binding norm which will address it, which will be effective for the implementation in addressing issues of violence against women and girls. So the last 2 days, delegates from the South Asian countries have been deliberating on the commonalities of the issues, the commonalities of the way we address it, and the need to take an effective 360-degree approach to violence to ensure that women and girls are safe, not just in our region, but in every part of the world.
So, during the conference, many prominent speakers stressed on the new global treaty to address the violence against women and girls. So, though we already have SAWM to address the violence against women and girls, why do you think that this new global treaty is necessary?
You know that SAWM was negotiated more than 4 decades back. And 4 decades back, the issue of violence and rape, in fact these words don't even occur in the SAWM document. Because 4 decades back, violence against women was considered to be a private matter. So that is why nothing was talked about it in that discourse. Having said that, let me say that violence against women stems from discrimination. It's a manifestation of the discrimination, but it goes much beyond discrimination to become a human right violation. Violence against women is not just discrimination, it's a human right violation, and it is time that the world recognized violence against women as both a human rights violation and also as a health violation. The second thing is, within SAWM, the reporting mechanism. I always say that any international instrument is as good as its implementation is. In SAWM, the implementation is seen through the reporting, and it's a narrative-based reporting, which means nations can report either de jure instead of de facto, and within the large number of issues being discussed, violence takes a very small space, and it is also easy to hide behind lack of implementation when you have such a narrative-based reporting.
Well, Ms. Meera, during the conference, many prominent speakers stressed on the need of a new global treaty to address the issues of women and girls, to address the violence against women and girls. So, why do you think a new global treaty is necessary to address the issue, though we already have a SAWM? So, what are the gaps in the SAWM that the new global treaty is going to address?
A global pandemic like this, a global phenomenon like violence against women, requires a universal approach. It has to be a cohesive, holistic, strategized, coordinated response towards this issue, because it is across the globe. So to have that kind of a coordinated response, you need to involve all the stakeholders, the nations of course, the civil society, the world community, the United Nations. So a coordinated response would mean a 360-degree approach to violence against women and girls, literally a zero tolerance for violence. And a coordinated response would mean effective laws. There has to be at least a minimum standard of legal framework to protect women against violence on them. Nepal and India and Bangladesh may have very strong laws, but there are many countries in the world which do not have those kind of strong laws. So the important thing, laws cannot stop violence against women and girls, but without laws you cannot stop violence either. And laws give you an avenue to hold the state parties responsible for protecting women against violence, because laws give you an avenue for reparation, retribution and rehabilitation. So apart from law, you have prevention education. You have to teach gender relations, how to prevent violence, because let us have a proactive mechanism. You need to sensitize your judiciary, your police, your first port of call, the health professionals. You need to have shelter support services like shelter homes, legal services, counseling centers, and most important, you need funding. Without funding, you cannot achieve anything. You know, across South Asia, in fact, over the last 2 days, when women have been talking about violence, almost always across South Asia, they've been saying that yes, the laws are there, implementation is weak. And why is implementation weak? In our countries, implementation is weak because of lack of awareness and a lack of resources. Lack of awareness you can only address by ensuring that preventive education, talking about the laws that are available for women to take recourse to. And you need the resources. So an international binding norm can attract that kind of funding which can be used for implementation.
Well, she was Miss Meera Khanna, a noted Indian writer and gender rights activist, and we were talking about the ongoing South Asian Regional Conference that is being held in Nepal. We will be back in our another episode with a new content. Till then, goodbye and namaste.